Hello and welcome to another edition of the DBE TV News. You can watch this bulletin on the DBE TV News YouTube channel, the DBE YouTube channel, and on OpenView channel 122. I'm Balisama Kholego. In our top stories, teacher unions cautiously welcome the 2025-26 budget. The DBE briefs on the status of the implementation of the Bella Act. Winter Sports Championships showcase the learners' talent. Teacher unions have cautiously welcomed the 2025-26 budget as tabled by Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwagube in Parliament. The department has been allocated 35 billion rands, an 8% increase from the previous year. In her address to members of the Parliament, Gwagube said the budget will focus on priority areas including quality early childhood development, strengthening foundational literacy and numeracy, advancing inclusive education. She also said the budget would work on supporting teacher training and professional management, as well as improving school infrastructure, safety, and learner well-being. Here is more information on the story.
Teacher unions SATU and NAPTOSA have, with caution, welcomed the Department of Basic Education's budget vote. Minister Siviwe Gwagube presented the budget for the 2025-26 financial year to members of the National Council of Provinces and members of Parliament in the same week. She said this year's budget is a signal of the department's continued commitment to target investments that close gaps and unlock every learner's potential. Speaking on the Elijah Unpacks podcast, Nomusa Cembi from the South African Democratic Teachers Union raised some concerns regarding this year's budget.
We are worried as to whether all these priorities will be sufficiently met looking at our budget. You know, our budget over years, I would say from 2013, we've seen that even though you can see that the figure is up, but it is not really up because the numbers of learners who come to school, the number is increasing and all. So our budget has been, in real terms, has been going down, is being cut over the years. So we are worried as to whether this will really meet all the needs that are there. We even earlier this year, as SATU, we embarked on a march against austerity measures because we feel that they are leading to budget cuts, and this has an impact on the delivery of quality public education. Yes, we see the budget, but we are worried that it may not meet all the needs that we feel should be met.
Meanwhile, NAPTOSA says they hope the increase will assist to cover a wide range of areas.
NAPTOSA welcomes the 8% increase on the DBE budget. And one hopes that the little increase that has been put into this budget will assist us to cover a wide range of areas. We are especially pleased that the priorities that the DBE has outlined include early childhood development, and especially the professionalization of that particular sector, taking into consideration that ECD has almost been informal. We are very much pleased that there's a particular emphasis on foundational learning, which is going to enable the sector to pay attention to the learning gaps that there are. The increase in the education infrastructure grant, the look into the nutrition program, teacher development and support, we consider those to be very important. Partnerships and as well as issues of accountability.
Ntantala added that he concurs with Tembi as they too have concerns about the budget and the fiscal strain the country is facing.
Our concern is the fiscal strain and the underfunding of the provinces, which has often led to unfilled posts and non-payment of allocation to schools.
Gwagube said there are 5 key priority areas for the department with this year's budget. Let's take a listen to some of the allocations as tabled by the Minister in Parliament.
The ECD conditional grant therefore increases to 1.7 billion rand, with over 230 million rand of that allocated to the ECD nutrition pilot and 162 million rand set aside for ECD infrastructure. Our goal is very clear. Every child must enter grade R ready to learn in all respects. Our strategy centers on foundational learning, ensuring that all children can read and calculate by age 10. Over 4.6 billion rand is therefore allocated to curriculum support and monitoring, which is an increase of 14%. Our 1.2 billion rand workbook program will continue to provide quality learning materials from grade R to grade 9, including Braille and adaptive formats. While workbooks support teaching and learning, they are not substitutes for quality teaching. So 57 million rand will be spent in the medium term to support learners who are not being taught in their mother tongue to roll out the mother tongue-based bilingual education program. Our message is quite clear. Reading is non-negotiable, and the foundation phase is where the battle for equity and excellence must be won.
She went on to reiterate the importance of supporting teachers and explained the allocations from the budget to teacher training.
No reform succeeds without empowered teachers, and that's why we're investing more in their development. Over 1.8 billion rand therefore supports teacher training, mentorship, and leadership. The Funza Lushaka bursary scheme will fund over 9,000 students focused on priority subjects and foundation phase. Recruitment will prioritize candidates willing to teach in rural and high-need areas. Teachers are the single most important in-school resource influencing learning outcomes, and so we must continue to support and professionalize them.
Naptosa has welcomed this, saying the professionalization of teachers is important for the sector and goes a long way to encourage and motivate teachers.
When we talk about professionalization of the sector, it must be placement of personnel in line with what they are qualified to do. Because you will find that in some instances, especially at the foundation phase, you've got some of the teachers teaching out of place because they have not been trained specifically to deal with the foundation phase. And therefore, any kind of teacher development and training and support must also be intended to ensure that we align the qualifications of the people that are teaching at the foundation level. Now, the other issue is with inclusive education, appropriately qualified people, because sometimes you find that people just apply because they want to be appointed and earn money, when in fact their training is not aligned to special education. So that becomes critically important for us.
Gwagube highlighted that she will be establishing an advisory body to advise her on various matters.
In the coming weeks, I'll be constituting an advisory body, the National Education and Training Council, to advise me on matters including school resourcing, teacher workloads, progression and promotion requirements. Whether the pass mark should be 30, 40 or 50% in which subjects, it must be subjected to well-researched process of experts and not feel-good statements shouted from rooftops and Twitter streets. We must be responsible with the curriculum of our children. And this is what it means to be a builder, honorable members. We act with discipline, we act with agility and the purpose in the face of constraint, protecting children's education at all costs.
A move questioned by SATU, saying it may cause confusion and tension in the sector when there already is an advisory body.
As SATU, we are uncomfortable with it, with the structure, because we believe that we have the Council of Education Ministers, which is comprised of the all MECs for education. We believe that it is the structure that can advise the minister on these issues, and it is there by law. So we believe that we are worried that there will be many processes or many people who are talking about the same thing, which may cause unnecessary tensions, and we are worried that we would not want to see this structure now being in place and delaying issues, because now we will have the structure. We have the Council of Education Ministers. We want things to move seamlessly. We do not want to see tensions emanating from these two structures. So we believe that the minister should really look into this, and why another advisory body when we have the Council of Education Ministers.
Although there is optimism from the minister regarding the budget for the department, the proof will be in the implementation, as stated by Ntantala.
The devil is going to be in the effective implementation of those budget initiatives.
Staying in Parliament, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwagube has refuted claims that there is a delay in the implementation of the Bela Act. She was speaking during her appearance before Portfolio Committee on the Basic Education in Parliament to brief on the status of the regulations and implementation of the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. Gwagube was joined by Director General Matanzima Mweli, various MECs, and senior officials from the department.
I want to set the record straight, Chair, that the misinformation that has been shared suggesting that there's been a delay in implementing the Bela Act is completely false and untrue. As you yourself have indicated, the piece of legislation was signed into law by the President at the end of last year, and its implementation has begun in earnest. And I'll go through some of the steps that have already been undertaken to implement the Act. It's also important, Chairperson, to understand that what is the goal of regulations? An Act can be passed and it can be implemented. Regulations merely support the implementation of the Act. So it does not mean that because regulations have not gone up for public comment or that regulations have yet to be published that you are not implementing the Act. And I think perhaps there's often a misconception about what role regulations play. Regulations are important for the sector to guide the sector on how to implement particular provisions, which of course may not necessarily be articulated in the actual original drafting of the piece of legislation. However, when an act is enacted, as members would know, it is in full implementation mode. And so we develop tools, whether it is guidelines, whether it is regulations, to support its implementation and to guide the sector. And so it's quite important to understand that, I think, particularly for this committee, because, Chair, I would be really glad if the committee itself can be advocates of what the true state of affairs is around what we are working with.
She added that the department is finalizing regulations required to support the implementation of the Bela Act.
I think it's also important, Chairperson, that the work that we do here must rise above partisanship, and that we must be clear on why we are doing this work, and that it is for the progression of the sector, and it is also for the 13.5 million learners who look to us. Honourable members, the work of finalising legislation and a regulatory framework that affects 13.5 million learners is no easy feat. It is complex, it is highly technical, and it is intergovernmental in nature. And it must be approached with rigor, care, and responsibility. It's also not about chairperson, about rushing to tick boxes. It's about getting it right, because our learners deserve nothing less. And so the implementation of the Better Act must be driven by that singular and unwavering principle that learners must be placed at the center of everything that we do.
After the break, we find out more about the Mega Maths Festival.
Are you moving house or office? Need a reliable and professional company to assist? Look no further. Sitewa Logistics is the one for you. With over 5 years' experience in home and office removals, Sitewa Logistics operates throughout South Africa and promises to transport your belongings carefully with ease and proficiency at an affordable price. Contact Sitewa Logistics today. Call 071 950 1148 for more information. Alternatively, send an email on info@sitewagroup.com. Sitewa Logistics, moving goods safely from point A to B.
Various organizations, including the NECT, Department of Higher Education and Training, and the Department of Basic Education, participated in the 2025 Mega Maths Festival. The festival, which took place in the University of Western Cape, brought together key education stakeholders to reflect on the state of mathematics in South Africa. The opening session for Day 2 featured the chairperson of the National Education and Collaboration Trust, Dr. Sizwe Nkasana, and the former Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. Dr. Nkasana emphasized the need for a more learner-centered approach to teaching and learning mathematics to identify mathematical talent from an early age. Staying with mathematics news, Basic Education Director General Matanzima Mweli visited Prestige College in Hammanskraal, Pretoria. This is where learners from across provinces in the Gauteng region gathered for a winter camp aimed at academic excellence. The camp focuses on enhancing learner performance in mathematics and science, key gateway subjects critical for tertiary success and career readiness. This is what learners had to say about the camp.
It helped us develop valuable skills in collaboration and problem-solving techniques. This camp has not just been an event, it has been a turning point. One of the highlights of the camp was the opportunity to socialize with like-minded individuals from diverse backgrounds. We shared our experiences, learned from each other, and formed lasting connections that has enriched our lives. Waking up at 5 a.m., doing exercises such as my feet was a difficult challenge. We could adjust. We always complained, but the funny part is we never asked ourselves what was the purpose of it.
Addressing the matric class of 2025, Mweli shared his simple but powerful advice with learners to help them succeed. He encouraged them to go to school every day, pay close attention in class, and stick to a personal study timetable. He also reminded them to make good use of their study materials by taking notes, using resources from teachers, revising past papers on the DBE website, and other digital platforms for extra help. The DG also urged learners to support one another. The UN Women SA-led African Girls Can Code initiative made its way back to the basic education sector. Over 100 high school girls received skills that will help them prepare towards careers in the STEM field. The 10-day coding and robotics bootcamp was held at the Barnabas School of Specialization in Gauteng, which focuses on learning, mathematics, physical science, and the ICT. Throughout the bootcamp, the girls were introduced to computer science, user interface, user experience design, website development, mobile applications development, robotics, and programming. The learners also learned how to design websites, logos, and marketing material.
Today, my class will be focusing on web development. So they're going to go through design thinking. They will apply those steps that we trained them yesterday on how to come up with a solution from problem solving and until we do the prototype and testing. So they'll be focusing on that, and then later on today they'll also focus on app development, which is another lesson that they need to prepare themselves for.
The learners had to use their problem-solving skills as they tested the functionality of their robots. We end off this bulletin on the sporting fields, where Winter National School Sports Championships took place in KwaZulu-Natal. Under 15 soccer teams from across the country hit the field, showing off incredible skills, teamwork, and pure passion for the game. There was also a rugby action where teams brought their heat with powerful tackles, lightning-fast runs, and perfectly executed tries. While on the courts, under 15 netball teams brought the heat as they showcased their level of talent at the school level. We wish all teams the best during the championships. And that's how we end this bulletin on the DBE TV News YouTube channel, the Department of Basic Education's YouTube channel, and on OpenView channel 122. Remember to send through your comments and stories by contacting us on our X page at the DBE TV News and on Facebook, DBE TV News. Thank you for watching.